Welcome to Preps Plus Extra, the Milwaukee Journal Sentinel's online high school sports show, where every week we talk about the top news of the day involving high school sports. Hi, I'm Mark Stewart, prep editor of the Milwaukee Journal Sentinel. Joining me as always, J.R. Ratcliffe, sports editor of Now Newspapers. How you doing?
I'm doing great. We are on location today at Arrowhead High School, Pfeiffer Field at Terrascus Stadium, location of course, Arrowhead, the Arrowhead Warhawks. They'll be playing for the Division I championship on Friday.
Yeah, what a perfect place to be to talk about this week's games. Arrowhead plays Sun Prairie in the Division I championship game, 4 p.m. Friday at Camp Randall Stadium. Two undefeated teams. You know what you expect in the Division I, a heavyweight matchup.
Yeah.
Give me your thoughts on it.
Well, I mean, it is a heavyweight matchup in record. These are two 12-0 teams, like you said. But, you know, Arrowhead, to me, you've got to consider them the favorite. You look at what they did to Hudson last week, an extremely good football team, and they rout them. Hudson was also 12-0, hung with them for the first part of the game, but then Arrowhead really pulled away, showed the way that they can score in a multiple, they're very multiple. Their defense is very talented, very deep. They were able to really make that into a lopsided affair where you thought, man, if Hudson can't keep it close, then who can? Sun Prairie's a little bit of a mystery still to me because they've only played one game outside of the Big 8 conference all year,
right.
And that was last week against Badger. It's actually on this field at Arrowhead. They won by 8 points. They snuck it out there, and we just don't have a lot of data on them outside of the Big 8, which is obviously a very good conference, one of the best in the state for sure. But I still think Arrowhead's your favorite here in Division I. Yeah,
and you look at the history of these two programs. They're really these two leagues, the Classic 8 and the Big 8. With the exception of last year, really the Classic 8 teams have had their way for the most part. With teams from the Big 8. So again, like I say, I do agree with you that until Arrowhead slips or maybe the bus makes a wrong turn somewhere and they think they're playing at Whitewater instead of Camp Randall. Sure. I think it's it's going to be obviously their game. To win. They're the favorites. Their defense is playing outstanding as well.
Sun Prairie does have a lineman, Craig Evans, going to the University of Wisconsin, a big guy. He'll even occasionally run the ball, but he's the type of guy that Arrowhead maybe hasn't seen very often. Sun Prairie is very balanced. I talked to one of the writers in Madison, one of the more balanced teams he's even seen at anywhere this season. So there is going to be a lot that Arrowhead defense is going to have to match up against. Dante Starlin-Merriam, the running back, is one of the best running backs in the state. He carries the load. If they're handing off the ball, it's always going to him. And their defense was very stingy, 4 shutouts to close the regular season. So that's a team that knows how to play defense as well. But once again, Arrowhead went to Hudson. Hudson knows how to play defense, and Arrowhead scored 40-plus points. So.
Yeah. One other quick note on that game. You talk about UW recruits. Arrowhead has one of its own junior offensive lineman, George Panos.
Yep, familiar name for a lot of people.
Right. So who knows? Those two guys might be butting heads at some point during the game there on Friday. In Division II, if this were college, this is these are two in Homestead and Waunakee. You got two of the. This could be like Notre Dame and USC. These are two of the more storied programs in the state here. So, when you look at this particular matchup, what jumps out at you?
Well, Homestead's playing extremely good football. I think we're all operating under the assumption over the course of the year that Homestead might be not as good as they had been in years past. They got beat pretty handily by Whitefish Bay, which essentially was sort of a de facto North Shore title game. They ended up sharing it with Bay. But they're playing very well. They were able to score that upset against Green Bay Southwest and then absolutely clobber Marshfield last week. So, they're playing good football right now. They've got a couple different running back options. They've got a lot of, like all good teams, very deep, a lot of bodies on defense as well. They go up against Waunakee, who hasn't lost in 49 consecutive games. Now, they did get a scare last week against Bay. That game went to overtime, so we know that they're at least vulnerable. Mount Horeb Barneveld only lost to them 13-10 earlier this year. Maybe that says, this isn't the same Waunakee powerhouse, but, they're still undefeated. They're still, the favorite until somebody says otherwise.
Yeah, a couple things that jump out to me about the game. One, even though Dave Keel kind of downplays the idea of them, Waunakee's winning streak, and it's this year's team against, Homestead team against Waunakee. I think there is a little chip on the shoulder there. So we talked about the rankings last week, and a little birdie told me that people out in Homestead were wondering, hey, why are we so low in these rankings? Yeah. And hey, what's going on here? So I think there's a little chip on the shoulder there, and what, I can't remember the player who said the quote, but it jumped out at me that he said Homestead's nobody's underdog, and it just
Fair enough.
I just think this. I just got a feeling that the streak might end in here.
Calling the upset.
I guess I'm calling the upset. Hopefully, I'm not bad luck, but I just got a feeling it's going to be a great game for sure, and it wouldn't surprise me at all if if Homestead comes home with another championship.
And what a story it almost was to see Whitefish Bay take them to overtime, score twice late in the fourth quarter to force overtime, and then Waunakee intercepts Whitefish Bay's opportunity to tie in the extra session, and they wind up winning. Whitefish Bay going down valiantly.
Yeah, that was a tough loss for the Blue Dukes. Let's hear what Bay had to say about the loss.
Well, the young kids, they have to realize that they played hard, and it's part of the life lesson and learning. Okay, next time, I'm sure we'll get it done. We practice a minute 30 seconds to go, 2 minute all the time, and he did exactly what we expect of him. Grant's a fine young man, a good football player.
This season, like I said, it's historic. I couldn't be more proud of my team. We had the conference championship since the first time since 1993, first time making level 4 in the playoffs in school history, and it just came from the heart we had and the seniors we had, and it was a great season.
Well, in the Division III championship game, we got Catholic Memorial, another Classic 8 team, going up against Waupaca. What jumps out at you about the game?
Catholic Memorial was 2-2 at one point this season, and they talk a lot about that they were maybe doubting it a little bit. Certainly, a lot of people were doubting Catholic Memorial as a team that could make this run, even though they find a way to do it every year. And then they go into the playoffs, and it's like they're invincible. I mean, they beat undefeated Milwaukee, undefeated Wisconsin Lutheran. Monroe-Barneveld, they had a loss, but that was to Waunakee, and that was a 13-10 game. So you almost don't even count that as a loss. And they destroyed them 35-7. They scored touchdowns on the ground. They got turnovers. They went through the air. They had a big interception return from Alec Coker for a touchdown. Alec Coker, I should say. So Catholic Memorial playing their best football right now. I mean, they're still looking for that first WIAA title. Waupaca, they won a few years ago in 2008, state champion, then playing a very tough Eastern Valley Conference. So, Memorial always can hang their hat on the fact that they play in the Classic 8. Well, Waupaca plays in a tough conference too. Undefeated, Hall of Fame coach, excellent setup for them as well. I think that's going to be a great game. I really have no idea who's going to win.
Yeah, and that's going to be another, like I said, it's going to be a tight contest, and with Memorial, it's kind of similar to Homestead. They're used to kind of being that that underdog. They might be the greatest program in the state who always feels like they're the underdog, and probably justifiably so, given the numbers they deal with in the Classic 8. So Matt Hubley, another UW recruit. People are going to get a chance to see him up on the turf of Camp Randall. So that's going to be another great matchup. Speaking of Catholic Memorial, let's hear what Coach Bill Young and quarterback Pat White had to say about going to Camp Randall.
We're real solid in all three phases. If you're able to run the ball and defend the run and force them to go be one-dimensional, you got a real shot to win. And I thought it was just a great effort by all our kids today. The bottom line, you get to Madison, it's never old. It's a great honor because it doesn't come. It's so hard to get there, and we'll get this thing done this time.
We feel real confident coming into this game. This is a big win over Mount Horeb. They're a real good team, and we're just lucky to play hard on this day. Waupaca is going to be a tough team, but you have to have confidence coming in. We got to get this one. This one's for us. We missed it 2 years ago, and this one's ours now.
Well, we'll give the Crusaders the final say on this edition of Preps Plus Extra. For more Preps Plus action, you can watch me and Lance Allen every Sunday night on today's TMJ4. Take care.